Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right. Here we are in another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Are we here?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure she gave me the cue to start or not. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
And then I got the old frog in the voice over here. In the throat. So let's try that again. I sound faint, Emma. So how about if I do that? There you go. It's me and the microphone. All right. Here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. There we go.
Good morning, Bill.
I have come to present time. Peter, we're almost there. We're 3 away
From
your age. We're on show 63.
Bill, I'm older than that.
60. You told me you were 66.
I was.
Oh, you had a birthday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and nobody celebrated it. Not the wife, not the kids. So when their birthdays come up this fall, I didn't see anything.
Oh, so is that how you're going to handle that?
That's how I'm going to handle that.
Really?
That's right.
It's not going to be. I need to do a better job of wanting them to celebrate my birthday. I'm going to point to them and say, they're no good, rotten sons of bitches.
You don't beg.
Yeah.
You don't beg.
Okay.
You're appreciated or you're not.
Okay. So I'm serious. I do this every show. It sounds like I'm very faint. I'm definitely not as loud as I normally am.
Might just be in your headphones.
Yeah. So, anyways.
I hear you pretty good over here.
You can hear me yelling at you?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the point is, 67 episodes coming up. So is there going to be another donut party?
If that's what you want.
No.
No? No donuts?
No, we're on a diet.
Oh. Wait a minute. You got a mouse in your pocket?
No.
I've been on a diet for the last 53 years.
That's right.
It's called a seafood diet. When I eat seafood, I eat it. That's an old joke.
Yeah, that's right. But who's been clamming lately?
Yeah, me.
That's cool. I've never seen that. Like the fact that you can go someplace, dig around, and get like actual shellfish and things. I go in my backyard, I get tomatoes, peppers, and food, but you get clams.
Well, maybe you ought to come around Saturday night. This Saturday night.
Oh, I'm free.
Yeah? You should come around.
I'm free.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll bring the tomatoes.
All right. You don't want to know why?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I just need something to do.
All right.
I got the day free.
Well, we will have been deep sea fishing, and we're going after sea bass.
Oh, I hear that's pretty good. I have that sometimes.
Have you ever eaten sea bass?
So. Yeah, in a restaurant.
In a restaurant, it's usually the most expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it comes from Argentina.
No, it comes from the ocean in Argentina.
Maybe it's that one restaurant.
We're going to get it out of the Long Island Sound. I don't know where you come from, but I'm going to get it from the Long Island Sound.
The restaurant. They probably just say that to make it look good.
That's why they charge so much money. But it is absolutely the best eaten fish ever.
All right.
All right, so that's right. We're on a Flipping Houses show, not on What's Bill Doing in His Spare Time show, huh?
Yeah, but see, because of real estate, if you want to go off Friday morning clamming or fishing, you just go.
This is true.
Yeah, you don't lose any money. See, I still got my day job, so when I missed 4 days to go to Chicago,
right,
there goes the money. So you make it up some other place, get more houses. But when you have houses and things moving around, you take a day off, the house is still producing, or it's being renovated, or it's for sale, and it doesn't change your outcome.
That's exactly right.
It's very cool.
I can't take weeks on. Well, I can't take weeks on it, and I have done it. I just have to prepare for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a BNI group, and they want me to be an officer of the BNI group. And I'm like, no, I don't even think I'm going to resign. They're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, well, finally, after them asking me like 3 or 4 times, I pulled them aside yesterday, and I'm like, well, I can't be anything. Well, why not, Bill? You'd be really, I have no doubt I'd be really good at it. I would definitely, but they want me to be the marketing officer. I boomed this group, no problem. I had no problem with that at all. I could do it like in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
She said, then what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm seriously working very hard to take a 4-month sabbatical off the beginning of the year. January, February, March, and April. I'm still probably, I don't know how we're going to do the podcast. We have to figure that out. But there you go, Emma. So once I have that figured out, then... Anyways, I'm working pretty, you know that. I'm working on it pretty hard.
Yep.
Okay, the name of today's show is, now that we're about 35 minutes in, show episode 63 is called Secrets to Getting Pretty Houses and Ugly Houses to Achieve My Financial Goals.
Yeah. Secrets. Yeah, pretty houses. That itself is interesting. So I'm sure most people haven't thought about pretty houses and ugly houses. They just see houses or just ugly houses. But there's pretty and there's ugly and pretty houses.
Right.
Tell us more, Bill.
So, so I thought you were going to take over. I was listening. I'd like that. Have you take over. Pete the teacher. You keep telling me you're a teacher, so start.
Yeah, well, see, here's the problem. I would go wherever I go, but it's not what you have in mind because you haven't told me what you've got in mind.
So secrets to getting pretty houses and ugly houses to achieve my financial goals.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, achieve your financial goals?
Well, that sounds like the easy part. The beginning is where I have more attention. But, well, everybody has different financial goals.
Okay.
And you have to have a way to do it because you're usually more than just punching the clock, making money, and have a couple of bucks left over at the end of the week. It's not quite enough. I don't know if it ever was. But I don't know. Nowadays, people just aren't content to work the job, hang around a little bit, and then that's the end of it. They want to do more things, go places, do things, have more aspirations, buy more stuff.
Right.
So we need more money. So we just got to print more, I guess, right?
Oh, don't get us started on that. We're back to The Creature from Jekyll Island. If you haven't bought the book and read the book, could you put the link in the Facebook feed, please? You did it last night. Can you do it again?
I haven't read it. I know the general story, but I haven't read the details.
You're killing me.
No.
You're fired till you read the book.
Okay, I'll be back. Well, the fact is I've known about it for 40 years. I hadn't heard the book until recently. I've known the story generally enough to gross me and freak me out. 'Cause I've heard people read it, and for 2 weeks they're like, nah. They just weirded out from it.
Took me a month to get out of that.
Yeah.
The other one is Crisis by Design. I think that's by Bruce Wiseman. I don't know if he uses his actual real name. He's got 2 or 3 pen names, but it's Crisis by Design.
Yeah.
And that's a shorter version, but more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
He did a really good job. So it's Crisis by Design.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's go off on a 2-minute tangent here.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the fact that all this crisis is happening in the United States right now, like all this stuff that you see on the news about, all the tearing down statues and all that kind of stuff, which is in the news in August, right, 2017.
Yeah.
I don't think any of that stuff. I personally do not believe any of that stuff is organic.
Nope.
It's crisis by design.
Mm-hmm.
It is intended. It is somebody with a lot of money that is trying to get Americans to have a dichotomy. They're still trying to tear down President Trump, which I don't understand why. I mean, whether you like the guy or not, it doesn't matter. He is the president of the United States, and he is doing a job. He isn't.
Well, they're doing.
By John Wolfe.
Crisis by Design.
Yeah, an untold story of the global financial coup.
By John, is that the name? His pen name is John Wolfe.
That's what it says on Amazon.
Yeah, it's Crisis by Design.
It's got a picture of a $100 bill being stabbed on the front.
Yes.
Ooh.
By John Wolfe. So his pen name is John Wolfe.
I'll put a link in the description.
So if you go to Flipping Houses, if you go to Facebook, Flipping Houses for Rookies, Emma just put a link in there because we're live streaming right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we live stream every single Thursday morning from 10:30 to 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right. So anyways, enough babbling. Let's get on to the show. So why is that's me babbling, by the way, so I'm just talking to myself at this point. So financial goals. I want to talk about that before we talk about the houses, because I think that's a very confused subject. When I do live lectures, I find it very confused.
Really?
I find people very confused.
Well, I didn't know that.
You are, because I just asked you for a definition of what financial freedom is, or financial goals, and you didn't give me a clear answer. What are your financial goals?
Personally?
Yeah, not even without numbers.
Oh, without numbers?
I mean, you can give me numbers if you want.
No,
But
the numbers will change for you. But one, well, let me think. I want to eliminate debt.
Yep.
And I want to have enough cash flow to live on.
Okay.
And reserves.
Okay.
So to do that, I have to increase my income.
Or reduce your debt.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to reduce it without paying it right now. So I want to increase it to. Well, I do borrow, but I don't blow money. I borrow for good things and things that are really worthwhile, and pay it.
What does Kiyosaki say about all this?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah, go ahead.
So financial freedom, according to Kiyosaki, Robert.
Well, freedom,
right?
that's different. I mean, goals, should those be like synonymous, financial goals and freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the goal should be for freedom of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah, in that case, he'll say financial freedom is having more money coming in than you're spending. And if you can have it coming in...
No. You only got half of it.
Well, if you can have it coming in passively?
Yeah, without working.
Without working. Yeah, because
So
if you can't work, you're in trouble.
Right, so that's what Kiyosaki says is
Yep.
so to back up, create enough assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that your liabilities are covered.
Right.
Without working.
I know a lot of people try to just save a big pile of money so they can just live off of it.
Exactly.
But you could croak before you do that, or you could run out before you do that if you just live too damn long. And you have to make a lot of money to do that. So a lot of people scrimp and save and scrimp and scrimp just to put all this money there.
Right.
Maybe who knows what will happen with that. So I'd rather have chunks of money to pay some debt fast, but then work on a cash flow where the money's coming in. And then, you're financially free to go where you want to go.
Right. So suppose you put $1 million in the bank right now.
Mm-hmm.
In today's environment, and it's been this way for 8 years, maybe 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
how much money could you get for interest on that $1 million?
In general, 1%,
2%.
2%. Usual.
So what if you did the conventional thing like we were taught when we were kids, because we're both baby boomers, right? So if you did what we were taught when we were kids, and then so being wealthy was freedom, having a lot of money was freedom, and that's a lie, because you don't need a lot of money. Because if you had $1 million and put it in the bank right now and you made 1 or 2%, that wouldn't be enough to live off of. You would run out of money in some time, because you would have to use your assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what Kiyosaki pointed out with the cash flow quadrant, right, was how you get your income.
Right.
And the other thing he pointed out was when you just said you borrow money, when you borrow money, what do you borrow money for?
Mm-hmm.
Do you borrow money for assets or do you borrow money for liabilities?
Right.
So let's clarify those two things. What is an asset?
Right. Well, an asset would be something that actually creates more energy, more money, more something.
Than what it has.
Than sucking it up.
Right. And what's a liability?
Well, it's something that just loses. I mean, you think a car is great to have, but it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Right. Most people believe that their house that they live in is an asset.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a liability.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bank's asset because they're getting the money.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a liability because it's costing them, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month. Now, if you don't understand real estate, you'll use this dirty, nasty, ugly word called appreciation and think that you're making money. Appreciation is just the fool's gold. Because as fast as it comes, it can go.
That's just keeping up with inflation around you anyways.
Right.
You're not getting ahead.
Right.
But the house I'm in now is a little better because I fixed it up, but it's still the same house, or actually older than when I bought it. So it's
Right.
not better, except I did some things for it.
Right. So the economy it's something that you can't control. The economy, I mean, all we need now is to have some news, 3 or 4 days worth of news, right? Which we just talked about is a crisis by design. And if it's the right news and it scares people, right? And companies start closing like 2009, 2010, the market crashes. What just happened to your appreciation?
That's right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not something that we count. It's something that we get, and it's something that if we're in the right market, it will happen. But it's not something that we use as a profit center.
No sense counting on it. If you can't control it, count on what you can control.
Correct. So my point here is that if you're building financial wealth, that's great. like for retirement or something like that. The point is that you need to put it in some sort of a vehicle that's going to give you a return. Now, those vehicles, as far as I'm concerned, there are only 3 of them, as far as I'm concerned. One vehicle is real estate, the other vehicle is the stock market, and the third vehicle is some sort of a business that produces money. I think those are the 3 main places that you can put money and produce a yield. And a yield is nothing more than just the interest or the growth that it produces, right? So we talked about a couple weeks ago about how do you get money, and the way that a person gets money is with valuable final products, right? So you have to have a product that's completed and is valuable to somebody else. So if I make pens, and I hand you a pen and you give me $10, the pen is more valuable to you than the $10.
Right.
Right? So that's my valuable final product is the pen. I produce those pens, I make sure they work correctly, and I find people that want those pens, and I offer those pens to them. Right?
Sure.
So with that in mind, we could do that with houses. Right? We could find people that aren't qualified for mortgages and put them in lease options and all the stuff that we talk about all the time, right?
Sure.
So that would be our valuable final product, is give somebody a home that normally wouldn't be able to get a home, kind of like what HUD does, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we can buy a house from someone that has trouble selling a house.
Yeah.
So those are our valuable final products.
Yeah. We ran into a few of those recently.
Right. I don't know what the stock market's valuable final product is. You give them money, they give you money back. It's not really. I mean, I know a lot of people do it, and there's a lot of, but there's no. I don't know.
Originally you're supposed to put money into a business so they can run it, and you're part of it, but you're not participating in it. You're lending them the money to do it, which is fine, but you're hoping that your money will make money as you watch someone else produce or implement or correctly or badly in a market that maybe is okay, maybe is not okay. Frankly, I grew up in a home where my parents had stock, and dinner was not fun because they always worry and argue about it. Buy, sell, keep, what, and I found it annoying.
Right.
And then, if it crashes at the wrong time, there goes half your money.
Right.
So I'd rather do something that I control, right or wrong. If I screw up, it's my fault. I got nobody, look what happened to me. It's me. I make it work or I don't make it work. I got nobody to point a finger at.
Right.
And I feel more comfortable with my own control of things.
Right.
That if something goes bad, well, I'll do something about it.
Right.
Economy goes bad, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
It's too big to deal with. So
it's interesting with the stock market, and I'm not bashing it because, my in-laws are part of it. I know a lot of people that have made a lot of money with it. I never understood it because if I take $5,000 and I put it in the stock market, right, it's fine as long as the $5,000 is in there working. If I take it out, it stops. I take that same $5,000 and I buy a house, put a down payment on a house. Right. First thing that happens is my $5,000 turns into $100,000. My $5,000 worth of asset just turned into $100,000. We'll say that's what the house is worth. Right. So it just turned into $100,000. Second of all, if I want to take the $5,000 out, I can refinance the house. I could take the $5,000 out, and I could still own the asset. So I never understood why somebody would pick stocks over real estate. Just for that reason.
How about it's easier?
Yeah, obviously.
Here, invest this for me.
Yeah, but if you have a guy like me, you could be a private money. I was just having this conversation with my father-in-law the other day, and he's like, he sees me doing every year. He comes here for a month, and he sees me working like a fool. Right? All of a sudden, it's 3 years later, and he's asking some questions. Because I made a comment to my mother-in-law, like, I don't know why you guys are doing that.
Yep.
And I use, anyway, so. That's what my point is. So just let's get over, now that we've gotten over the hurdle of financial goals, so I just want to summarize that before we go into the valuable final products, which is the doingness on how we're going to hit our goals.
Right.
Okay? So basically, if your financial plan for the month, your financial obligations for the month are, say, $4,000, okay, just as a number, okay? I think that's a pretty common number. If you could create $5,000 and not have to work, or not work 40 hours a week and have a ball and chain, then you're financially free. You don't need to have $1 million in the bank. You don't need to have all this whoop-la-la.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you have that much money in the bank, I've been there, done that. It's annoying. You know, I remember when I was a boy.
Wait a minute.
I remember when I was a boy, my old man teaching me, you know, having money is just as annoying, as just as troublesome as not having money. Because when you don't have money, you're worried about how you're going to pay your bills, and when you have money, you're worried about who's taking it from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tax man, the employees, the whatever. Everybody's after it, right?
It's a different flow.
Yeah, but you still worry,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I have found is, having been both positions a couple of times, okay, I realize the best thing that I can do for my life is to build a business, right? And my business just so happens to be real estate. So I took two of the three and I put them together. So I created a business that has assets that are real estates.
Got it.
That are real estate assets,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because those are good assets to have. Because worst that can happen with the real estate market is it crashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've done the things that we talk about and done them correctly, then you can ride a down wave and then come out the other end much better. So the worst case scenario is you just keep the cash flow going.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. What I've learned is, even in an economic disaster time, people have to live somewhere.
Right.
So they might not be living in houses, but they might be renting from you.
Right.
Or leasing from you. They have to live somewhere.
Correct. So the good thing about my 7 offers is that we ebb and tide through the economy on which one we use more. Like right now, we're doing more of the rehab retail. But I think in a year from now, in 2018, I think the market will change and we'll go back to doing subject to and more lease options. But you can, like you said, depending on how the economy is which one of the 7 offers or 2 of the offers you'll use most, right? So it's really cool, and that's the reason why they were compiled the way they are, is because I've been through 12 years worth of business and I've gone through a couple cycles.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And the down cycles are not good, but I survived. You know, I managed to dig my way out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not as horrible as you think.
Are you structuring your deals house by house in a safer way than you did years and years ago from your experience, so
Yes.
that even if something happens, you're still okay?
Yes.
Like, it's not as tight?
Yes.
Okay. That's a relief to me.
Yes. So do we have the financial part down? Because you segue. We can segue in with what you're talking about. Why we have ugly houses? Why we have pretty houses?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing that I read recently, that saving is fine to do, and you definitely should do that. But what I read was from a millionaire or bazillionaire that you save to invest, not just to save.
Right.
And there's some guy like 80 or 100 years ago that had this, I don't even know his name anymore, but he was famous at the time or something and had books. And he would say, when you do your finances, put 10% aside. Just don't spend that. You know, have less of a rent, less of a car, less of whatever, but just save 10%. Not to save. Then someday do something with it.
Right.
And then someday you'll get your way out of it.
Right.
My dad, as a barber, had customers that were guys with jobs, and they would work like crazy for a year or two to start some new job. Blood-eyed, they'd fall asleep in the barber chair because they're working constantly to get this new business going. But 2 or 3 years later, ba-boom, this business would take off. There goes a job, and they were doing really well. But they really worked for it.
Right.
And they planned and they saved, but they invested it, and they did fine. It's not just like, ooh, boom, I threw my money out and now I'm rich. Ooh, lucky me. No, you have to do something smart to get there.
Right.
I mean, the less effort, the better, I suppose. The smarter you are, maybe the less effort. That's why I try to study this subject with you instead of just the hard way.
Right.
So I thought that was smart. Save to invest, not just to save.
Right. So my twist on that is as long as you have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved, anything above that you can invest. That's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can storm, if you can storm 3 to 6, preferably 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you can storm 6 months, you'll figure it out in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, be able to dig your way out.
Mm-hmm. So the rest of it, you should keep working.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh yeah, why have it sit there?
Exactly. Well, it'll eat itself. Money's an energy, so it'll eat itself.
Mm-hmm.
There'll always be a garage door or a car broken or a kid with a problem or whatever, and it'll just go away.
Mm-hmm.
Money's energy, so you need to keep it moving. You need to use the energy.
Absolutely.
Right. And when I was doing lectures for 10 years, I did lectures once a week at a business expansion club. And one of the lectures I used to do was, if you have money problems, if you think of it like a pipe, like water in a pipe, the water can't get out of the pipe. Because you crunch down and you're not spending anything, and you have so much attention on spending.
But that you're hanging on to it?
Yeah, you plug the pipe up, so the inflow can't come in. No more water can get in the pipe because it's full.
Mm.
So open the other end and let the water out a little bit. Now, I'm not saying go buy a $1 million house when you're living off of $30,000 a year, but at least do like what you're talking about. Keep 10%, and the rest of it just pay your bills and create and do things and be happy.
Mm.
And when you unplug that the outlet portion of the pipe, the inflow will start coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no more demand for money than necessity level.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep.
So you need to create a necessity level. And when you're doing your financial planning, having 10% as a reserve is no different than like pay my electric bill or pay my mortgage. I have to pay this bill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a bill, right? You have to pay it in your financial plan. And if you're not doing that, then you don't have a good financial plan, right? Because future, you always have to create a future. So you should have resources to do that. Mm-hmm. So anyways, off on the whole rampage on the financial goal.
We were going to segue to ugly and pretty houses. Do I have to say something intelligent to segue now?
No.
Good.
So I just want to get the point that being financially free does not mean that you need to have $1 million or $2 million. If you have that, that's fine. What it means is that you have enough assets that produce enough income. And when I say passive income, I don't mean you never work. It just means that you're controlled work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you work a couple hours a week. I mean, you can't not work. If you don't work, then you'll become ill.
Mm-hmm.
Work is something that we all do, and it's a good thing. What you got to do is like your work. So if you're making $5,000 a month because you own 10 apartment buildings or 4 houses or whatever it may be, you're still going to have to collect rents. You're still going to have to go to the bank. You're still going to have to do little things, but just realize that the amount of time for you to do that is minimal, so you can enjoy the other time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, you have to have some reason to get up in the morning.
Right.
Be in your jammies all day.
Got to have goals.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of people that do it just because they want to volunteer time. They have charities and.
Oh yeah.
Like,
my retired friends are busier than ever.
Yeah.
They're running around.
Like I know you and I especially me, I think more than you, and I'm not picking on you. Actually, I am picking on you. Me more than you. We donate a lot of time to churches. We definitely donate to churches.
Yeah. I'm only laughing because you want to have a little competition. We can add up my lifetime's amount and your lifetime's amount, and we'll have a little.
No, you're only as good as the month you're in.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir, Bob. I don't add that way.
Oh. Well, maybe that's why you're struggling with what you're struggling through in your head.
I'm not struggling.
Oh, look.
I'm not struggling. What are you talking about struggling? I'm fine.
I just messing with you. All right, so.
Do not challenge me, Mr. Hawthorne.
So the reason,
I'm older than you.
Yeah, I know. So why is all this the first half hour of our show when we say secrets of getting pretty houses and ugly houses? Why is that so important?
What, the goals
the
part?
financial goals.
Well, that's what you're doing it for. I mean, you don't just go run around doing things. You have to know what it's for, why it is, so you can do it correctly, structure it to get you there.
Right.
So to work your way backwards a little bit.
That's right.
Okay.
You have to reverse engineer it.
That's right.
So the first thing I want to disclaim here is as far as I know, and I don't know this to be true, but as far as I know, Ron LeGrand was the one that coined the words ugly and pretty. So I just want to make sure I'm not stealing his language.
Right.
Although a lot of people use it, I'm pretty sure he's the one that kind of started talking that way. Okay, so an ugly house. However, I'm going to use it differently than the way he talks about it. Okay, because when I get leads, because we all know that my success, maybe we don't all know, so let me cover it. What you should know about me is that I'm a marketing guy, and I like to cast my net. and I like to bring the fish back into the boat. Okay, literally.
Or clams.
No, fish. Or clams, yeah. You don't catch clams with a net.
You have to dig them.
Yeah. So,
See Bill's video tomorrow.
that's I just posted it on Facebook. So, anyways, my point is that with marketing, if you cast your net out, so the magic is that I don't go looking for houses. Houses come looking for me. And when you get that in your mind and when you figure that out, your life will change. Your real estate career will change. Mm-hmm. Okay? And if you want any elaboration on this, then you just need to go to flippinghouses.club/coaching101 for $67 a month. I actually show you how to do that. Okay? The first month is $1. There's a $1 trial offer for the first 30 days. Mm-hmm. But I show you how to cast your net and I show you what lists to talk to. I show you what messages to give, because it all comes down to matching your message with your audience. Mm-hmm. And if you do that correctly, right? When I say correctly, most marketing fails, not because of the marketing, because of the audience chosen to present the marketing to. So, I mean, obviously some marketing will be bad, but most of the time it's not the marketing problem, it's the audience selection problem.
Talking to the wrong people.
Right, so you have a message in front of people that don't care about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I'm an automotive repair shop, and I'm offering a $15, $13.99 oil change, or $15.99 oil change, $15.99, and I put an ad in the newspaper. Mm. So that's too broad, right? Why not buy a mailing list from a broker that sold BMWs to people, or registered BMWs? Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah.
So I own a BMW shop, or I repair BMWs. I call a list broker, and I buy a list of people that registered motor vehicles called BMWs.
And you're the BMW automotive shop in town.
I happen to be good at fixing BMWs, so why not send my ad to them? Because I'm going to tell you right now, the BMW guy is not going to fall for a $15.99 oil change. His oil change is $39.95. Right? But if I put it in a newspaper, what happens? If I put an ad in the paper for $39.95, what am I doing? In the local newspaper. How many people how many people are going to pay $39.95 for an oil change?
No, that's more. That's more than the average cost, but that's, regular cars. BMWs are different.
So by selecting the right audience, I can get the right message, and I can have a much better response to my ad.
And a better price too, apparently.
Right. Well, because it costs that much. I mean, the oil filters are not. They're not. $8 oil filters. Mm-hmm. So it's a different car.
Sure.
Right. So that's just a classic example. So I've done all that heavy lifting for you, because I've spent between $7,000 and $9,000 a month for several years, hundreds of thousands of dollars, testing a bunch of stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have taken my best campaign, which is how we started you and Jesse.
Yeah.
And that's how you got into the business, and it worked right away. I mean, within 5 days, you had leads.
And I have to say, when you tell people, we'll show you how to get the list, we'll show you what to put in marketing, it's like, well, I don't know anything about marketing. I know something. I place ads, but nothing crazy. And I never used lists, and I never did this or that. But it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, push the button.
Right.
I mean, it's simple. I actually gave it to my wife. Here, do this, do that.
Right.
It's really that simple.
So if anybody wants to start their real estate business, that is where you start. You start by getting people calling you and saying, I have a house for sale. Can you buy it from me?
Customers.
Yeah.
Customers.
Now, will you buy every one? No. Will you need money to buy those houses? No. Some of them you will. Some of them you won't. Okay? And that's where... that's why we put the 7-offer strategy in the front of that module, so you can see the 7 different ways, which is 10 modules. It's about 2.5 hours worth of videos, broken down into 20-minute, half-hour segments, and it shows you exactly what to do when those deals come in, how to get them. So for the amount of money that we're charging for that, it's in fact, if the membership doesn't increase there, I'm going to just increase the price and then make it more valuable. Because people don't get the value. People aren't getting the value, and we need to do a better job of explaining that. But my point is you cast your net, and we show you in that segment. It's flippinghouses.club/coaching101, and we show you how to do that step by step. Okay, and it's not very hard. It's not hard at all, and it doesn't. I mean, I think you started with $25 worth of marketing, right?
Yeah, some envelopes, letters, and the list was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is that way. And
I mean, you're not going to be rich off of that, but you can get started.
yeah, well, you first have to know if it works,
Right.
and that it works. So you do it, and then you can do some more of it. But the thing that people may not believe is that you will get a lot of calls.
Right.
It's not like you do it and nothing happens.
Right.
Within, I just sent another batch of letters last week, and 2, 3, 4 calls just from that little batch.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it actually, the volume is reasonably good too, because you need enough volume to find the right one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to make at least 15 offers, so you'll need to have 40, 50 phone calls to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that all leads up to once you cast your net, right, and these calls come in, one of the things you need to do, one of the qualifying factors is it a pretty house or is it an ugly house? And why is that important? Because ugly houses are houses that are the traditional HGTV type flip this house type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are houses that we're going to buy, renovate, and sell within a 12-month period. So to me, the difference between an ugly house, and this is what I'm calling the secret, the ugly house and the pretty house is the term of money that you're going to use to buy the property.
Right.
So an ugly house most likely is going to be a 12-month or less term. That's when you're going off and you're buying a house and you're getting a private lender or a hard money lender, and you're paying for the purchase of the house plus the renovations plus your holding cost, and then you turn around and you doll it all up and you sell it on the market.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the MLS type of activity. Right? That's all usually done on the MLS. That's using realtors, using the multiple listing service, which is the MLS, which is what realtors use to sell their properties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's that whole game.
Right.
Which is a nasty, cutthroat game. Okay, it works. A lot of people make a lot of money with it.
Mm-hmm.
It works. Now, anything above 12 months worth of financing is usually a pretty house, not always. Sometimes we'll buy a subject to property and spend 10 or 20 grand fixing it up. But here's the point that I want to make. You do not
I won't.
put money in a house that you don't have a deed in your name.
Yeah, if you think about it, that'd be nuts.
It's risky.
You might as well go to your neighbor's house and start fixing things up.
That's right.
It's your house.
So the places that we don't have our name on a deed would be a slot deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sandwich lease option transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Would be an option deal. Would be a lease option deal. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wholesale deal.
Right.
Those are going to be the 4 places. So 4 out of the 7 you don't own the deed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you're going to own the deed. You're going to have the deed in your name on a subject to deal.
Right, because you're getting the deed to that.
Right. And you're going to have the deed in your name on owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're right.
And retail rehab.
Right. You're actually buying the house.
Right. So the deed is in your name.
Sure.
And that is the most risky for you because now you're the last buck before it stops.
Mm-hmm.
You're so that's when you get in trouble. If you can't pay the taxes, they take the money back. You can't pay the mortgage, they foreclose, all that kind of stuff. But a slot deal, an option deal, a lease option deal, a wholesale deal, all those, even though a wholesale deal you have a purchase and sales agreement in your name, you aren't going to close on it with your name. You're going to use your end buyer's name to close on the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to sign your contract in some sort of a way. Every state is different, but in some sort of a way, you're going to sign your contract, and they're actually going to close and put deed in their name.
Right.
Or if you do close with deed in your name, it's only for a couple of days because you're using a transactional funding company.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll do it for 3 or 5 days, and then it'll go into somebody else's name.
So you buy it and then sell it right away because you have the buyer already in place. You just have to
Right.
juggle back and forth.
But you're already contract. You already have closing set up. It's all put in your place. You don't have the deed in your name long enough to worry.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you buy title insurance, so if something happens, then you're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my point in talking about financial freedom and all this that seems like it's a long way around is when you start getting these properties coming to you, you're going to have ugly houses and you're going to have pretty houses. So ugly houses are ugly houses are cash deals.
Mm.
Pretty houses are terms deals. Now, we were just at a seminar with Ron LeGrand, because we all know I love the guy. And he actually said in his seminar that when you're selling ugly houses and you're flipping them, you need to be below market value.
Yeah, that stuck out.
Right.
I never heard anybody say that before.
Right. And when you're selling terms deals, you need to be above the market value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason why is because when you're selling ugly houses, you're selling to people that qualify for a mortgage, which is 19% of the United States' population. 81% of the population doesn't qualify for a mortgage, and that's when we sell on terms.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to buy a house subject to, which means we take over the underlying, we're buying the house subject to the underlying mortgage. The house gets deeded in our name, almost as if we were assuming the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people think that's risky, and the first question I get is how do you not trigger the due on sale clause? And believe me, that is the safest way to buy a house, is with subject to. And just go to flippinghouses.club/coaching101, and I have a whole video on it so I can explain it to you. We don't have enough time in today's show to go through that because it's a whole show by itself,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to do that today. So I buy a house subject to at 80% value, 80% loan to value ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I buy a $200,000 house for $160,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that means automatically I got a $40,000 spread because I just said what I said, that terms deals you sell above the market value. I'm not going to sell for $200,000. I'm probably going to sell for $210,000. So now I got a $50,000 spread.
Mm-hmm. Even though that sounds crazy to people, why would anybody pay more? Well, these are the folks that can't get a house, so they have to pay a little extra for the privilege and the help to get into the house, and they know it.
Well, the interesting thing is when you say that is what are they really paying? They're not paying $210,000. They're not writing a check for $210,000.
No, and when I talk to them on the phone, they're not as concerned with the price of the house. They're concerned how much do I need down and what's my monthly payment.
Exactly.
Because that's all you're going to pay.
Exactly.
I mean, how long it lasts, who cares?
Right.
I mean, if it's 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, it's still the same payment per month.
Right.
And if you're planning on leaving soon or something and sell it to someone else, you'd have to be. But they're not doing that. They're not flipping it. They want to live in it.
Right.
So it's still a great deal for them.
It's the difference between having a 20-year mortgage and having a 22-year mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't for most people, for them that. And here's the interesting thing. Here's a statistic I may not have told you.
Yeah.
The average person lives in a house 7 years.
I've heard things like that. It blows my. People move every 7 years. What's wrong with me?
Right.
I'm like, stay where I am.
Right.
Why is that?
I don't know, but it's average.
Huh.
So with that said, we talk about how we do lease options and all that kind of stuff. I use 7 years as one of my staple points.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Plus the way we lease and all that kind of stuff. But 7 years is when an average person lives in a house. So when they're paying $219,000 or $200,000, they're not thinking about that extra $10 because they know that they're probably not going to stay there forever.
Yeah.
It's just a stepping stone. I mean,
you really don't pay that. You pay whatever you pay down and per month. That's life. That's what you pay. You get paid, you pay. Goes back and forth.
Jessie got her offer accepted on her house. We had a house that we were buying, and it fell through, and we just bought another house.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so it got offered 2 days ago.
Where?
Up in the Ridges on Wallingford.
Uh-huh.
But here's the point is we're walking around the house. Actually, is she on, Emma? No. So actually, I don't know what happened. We looked at a house, and I was a little bit frustrated because we're like looking at houses, and then we went and looked at the second house, and I'm just walking the house, and I'm like, this is the house. So I didn't even ask her if she wanted her, and I'm just like, I walked in 2 rooms out of the 7 or 8 rooms in the house, and I said to the realtor, Lisa, go get a contract. She's like, oh, I'm like, Lisa, no, go get a contract. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, go get a contract.
Which 2 rooms?
The living room and the kitchen.
Yeah, I think the kitchen had to be part of it because that's the only room there's stuff in it.
And she went out and got her stuff and came back in, and 15 minutes later, we wrote a contract. And the reason why I'm even saying that is because it's just the right location, it's just the right house. I know what I can do in the house. I know what kind of work I'm going to do. She's going to do it with my contractor, and she's going to do the legwork, but I already know what the outcome is going to be. I already can see the house in my head just with the couple rooms that I saw. So we wrote the contract. It took about 2 weeks, and they accepted it. Okay, that was an MLS property.
Yeah.
Right now, remember the 5 offers, the 5 laws of making an offer. And if, I'm not going to go over all 5 today, but if you want the 5 laws to making an offer, email me at info@flippinghouses.club, info@flippinghouses.club, or just go to flippinghouses.club and go to the top right-hand side and click on Contact Us and request it, and I'll send it to you. I'll email it to you. But one of the rules there is that be first or be last. If you're in the middle, it's an auction. And auctions don't make you money.
So were you first or last on this one?
So we were first. We were right there. The house went on the market at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock, we looked at it, and by 3 o'clock, we had an offer in.
Cool.
Right? So you got to be that way. Right? You know that. We're going through that right now. We're looking at houses 3 or 4 days after they get listed, and by the time we get out there, they got offers in order.
Yep.
Okay. So the leads start coming in, and we're talking about MLS deals right now. We're talking about ugly houses. So the leads start coming in, and you have to decide, is this an ugly house or a pretty house? Now, I want you to understand that the language I'm using here is not just by sight, is it an ugly house? Because you could buy a subject to house that needs $10,000 or $20,000 worth of work that is a bit ugly. Okay? But you're not spending $40,000 on a renovation. The difference with me between pretty and ugly is not only the sight of it, but how you borrow your money.
Sure.
Because here's what I do know. The deals that I'm talking about, the slot deals, the option deals, the lease option deals, right? And the wholesale deal is a different thing. But those deals, you can't buy them and put money into them because you don't have a title in your name. So if you go into a house and it's a wreck and the guy's a slot deal, you can't really buy that house until he fixes it. Because you can't go in and spend $10,000 to shampoo the rugs and paint the walls and all that kind of stuff. You can't do that. Where's the $10,000 coming from?
No, and you can't sell it in that kind of condition.
Well, you can. It'd just be a lot harder.
Yeah, because most people want the nice house unless they want to flip it themselves or fix it themselves.
I think what you should say is not that you can't sell it. You can't sell it at that price. You can't be at 100%, And how many times have we sat in somebody's house and they want to give us the ARV, the after renovated number, to sell to us, but they actually have a retail rehab number.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do that better. So when they're trying to sell to us, they want to use ARV, as if it was all fixed up.
Yeah, actually, a guy said it to me yesterday. Yeah, it's $275. So is it $275 now in the conditions? Well, if you put a driveway in, and if you fix this, and if you fix that, it'd be worth $275. So I said, so are you going to do that?
Right.
And he went, huh?
Right.
Well, it's not worth $275 until it's done.
Right. Which is why our presentation is so good, because we go through that and get them to see, well, if you spend the $30,000 like I'm going to do, then you had the right to get that big number. But if you don't spend the money, then you can't get that big number. You have to deduct that number, and people don't want to do that.
No.
They think the house is worth $275,000 without having to fix it up. It's just, and until you actually have done this, you don't know. Until you've actually heard people talk and listened to people, what they have to say and some of their crazy ideas. What I'm telling you, it doesn't seem that significant, but I promise you, if you're making offers, you're going to run into this.
They think it's a bank or a piggy bank.
Yeah. It's a savings account to them. Yeah.
So, Bill, they think it's an asset.
It's an asset. That's right. So the truth of the matter is that when you're buying houses over the course of a year, you need to buy some houses which are going to be the ugly houses and flip them and get cash so you can live. But you're going to want to take some pretty houses and put them in your portfolio. And the pretty houses are the terms deals. So you're going to want to get some of those lease option deals that are going to go 7 or 8 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to want to get some of those deals that are 5 years old, that'll go 5 or 7 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing those, what you need to do is you need to pay attention to the 3 things, the 3 most important things of every deal, which are, am I getting money now? Am I getting money monthly? Am I getting money later?
Mm-hmm.
And when you could put those 3, that 3-legged stool together, you'll sit for a long time. And that's where you are going to build. And I'm telling you, oh my God, I can't even say this with enough emphasis. If you do what I'm talking about, if you, honest to God, just listen to me, you don't put your own shit in there, and you just do what I'm telling you to do. And it sounds so arrogant, but I'm telling you, I've tested it, and I've had students do it, and I've had so much success with this. Honest to God, if you just go into that coaching 101 group and just do what I show you to do in there, just do the mail, and you pick up 1 or 2 subject to deals or 1 or 2 lease option deals or anything like that, and hang on to them, after a year or 2, you can make enough passive income that you could actually retire, semi-retire. You can actually do that. You can get enough cash flow on your rental properties or on your lease option properties, and do enough of those a year. You can do a couple of those a year. Now, the difference is if you do 2, maybe you retire in 5 years. If you do 4, maybe you retire in 2 years, you know. But only you could figure that out. So if you're averaging $300 or $400 a door or $500 a door, then how many does it take for you to live? I mean, if it's $500 a door, you got to have
10.
Not even. Yeah, 10. Right? So if you're doing 2 or 3 a year, right? So what does it take? 5 years?
Yeah. But at that point, you'd think, this is too much fun.
Oh,
so you just keep doing that.
You won't go 5 years. You'll do it much quicker. But my point is,
you just keep going. Then you just keep doing it. Some more. If I got 5, I'll get 10,000.
Well, now you got your pipeline full. But I'm talking to a guy that has a 40-hour-a-week job and says he can't do real estate. I mean, how hard is it to cast the net? And I show you in the Coaching 101 group how to automate it, how you can use answering services, all kinds of stuff for not a lot of money. I mean, we have a virtual assistant that I turn you on to that's $29 a month. I mean, come on. Really? Why aren't you doing it? You know what I mean? So you could work your full-time job for 5 years and get your pension or whatever it is that you're after, right? And do your flipping house business and build your assets that we're talking about so that in 4 or 5 or 10 years or whenever it is, you'll have these assets spitting off money that you can have freedom with. But that's done with pretty houses. It's not done with ugly houses. Now, there is one caveat. You could buy ugly houses cheap and turn them into pretty houses and then sell them that way. You can do that. It's a little bit more work. I wouldn't suggest that, but people do that all the time. You know, they buy it and then they'll just rent it. You know,
and then rent it?
Either rent it or sell it on a lease option, however. But the people do that. Most commonly, they'll buy a junker house and they'll fix it up and just rent it. It's still the same concept. We talked about it a couple shows ago. I think we talked about it. Let me see here. Show 59 with Jesse about house hacking.
Yeah, I like that.
Right? Where you can actually buy a house from HUD and be an owner-occupant, get a 203K loan, which is a mortgage from the government that you can renovate, live in a year, and then turn around and get another one. You can't do that 5 years in a row? All right, so you got to move every year. Well, hire a moving company for $2,000 and you're done, or $3,000 and you're done.
And can you stay in the same neighborhood if you like it?
You can do whatever you want.
That's right. Same school system. You don't have to go to Milwaukee.
Right.
Or move the country.
So you could easily do that. Not do that.
I say do that.
You could easily do that.
Yeah.
Right. And buy a house once a year, and now at the end of 5 years, you've got 5 houses, and maybe you're cash flowing, $500-$600 a house, and you're making $2,000-$3,000 a month.
I'm imagining some people don't have the foresight to do that or the patience. If they want money now, like fast, but
That's okay. Then just to follow through all of our stuff and start flipping houses and do what we do. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that's okay, too. We can teach you that as well.
But they can't because. So I'm just saying, do what you can. Do something.
Right.
You know, if you can't flip a house and make a chunk of money right now because you got a job, you don't have the money, whatever, do something, get started, and then you can move ahead.
Just
You know,
cast
have
the
a
net.
little patience, you know.
Cast the net. What I'm suggesting here today, very strongly, is if you're going to be that person and you're going to start slow, start with pretty houses. You don't have to worry about construction. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but nothing major. Start off with a slot deal. Start off with an option deal. Start off with a lease option deal, right? And I'm going to tell you, just doing, I get all wound up with this. Just open up the frickin' newspaper and go to the rental section, people that are renting apartments, and call them up and say, I'm interested in your house. Would you sell it to me? Would you rent it to me with an option to buy? And if they say yes, go visit them and get a deal. I mean, it could be that simple. The guy that has a job, you know, the accountant or the factory worker or the truck driver, you're going to tell me that in the course of a day you can pick up a newspaper and look in the rental section of the newspaper and call somebody up, call 2 or 3 people up and say, will you rent to me to own? Will you do a rent to own? Or will you rent it to me with an option? And they'll be like, I don't know how to do that. Okay, can we talk? And just go talk to them. And on Saturday, go do 1 or 2 appointments. Or on Sunday, go do 1 or 2 appointments. Or Thursday night, go do an appointment. And I promise you that you will find one. Because somebody will say yes. Just ask enough. Let's make it an offer. And you're going to tell me you can't do at least that? You don't even have to cast the net at that point. The net is already cast for you. You're in the net. Just pick out which fish you want to talk to. I mean, come on. I get wound up about this because you could at least do that and then get one deal. So cash flow is $200. So what? Right? It's a deal. So now you go to the guy and say, I want a lease from you with an option to purchase. You agree on how much. And then you turn around and you go find a tenant to put in there and you lease from the seller and lease to the buyer and get in the middle for $200. And oh yeah, by the way, we talked about this last night at the meetup.
Yeah.
What are you really doing there? You're buying and selling paper.
Yeah, you never presented it as much as that before, but it's true. It's just you're just shuffling the paper around a little bit, and you're structuring the deal. The deal is the money's in the money, the money's in the paperwork, because you're helping people move things around.
Right. So what we're talking about is if I buy an option agreement from my seller for $100 and I turn around and sell it to my buyer for $3,000, what did I just do? I bought and sold an option agreement. I didn't buy and sell a house. I bought and sold the option agreement, the paper.
Yeah.
And the paper is allowing me to control the property. So I'm buying and selling paper, not real estate. And it's a lot riskier, a lot less riskier. So if you have a job or you don't have time and you want to stick your big toe in and try it out, do that. There's no risk. The deed's not in your name. There's no risk. Or very little risk. So what are you going to blow? $100 if you don't execute the option?
Right.
You blow $100. Yeah, the guy might be pissed off at you, but that's it. You know? I mean, maybe some people don't want people to be mad at them, but that's it. You don't go to court. You don't lose $100,000. You don't go through foreclosure. You don't piss off the private lender. You don't do any of that. Right?
Well, I like my owner finance deal that I have.
Yep.
I just spend a little money on the closing costs, and then every month the equity is increasing $400 a month, plus some cash flow. So to me, I don't have investments per se, but to me that's an investment.
So you put it. What'd you put in? $1,900 for the closing, or $1,600 or something like
almost,
that?
Yeah,
It was $1,900.
Yeah.
You're getting $500 a month cash. Well, $500 a month profit. $400 of it is in equity, and $100 and something is cash flow.
Yeah.
So where do you go and invest $1,900? The deed is in your name. You own it.
I own it.
So for $1,900, you got a $75,000 asset.
For $50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's spitting off $5,000 a year. No, $6,000 a year.
Yeah, with the cash flow.
So you put in $1,900 and it spits off $6,000 a year.
Yeah, but then 1,900 is a one-time expense. On top of that, so next year it's.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I think I just broke even, and now the rest is kind of like really
Right.
money.
Profit.
But to me, it's an investment, and it's not how much. I don't have anything in my pocket from it. The money I just leave it there, pay some bills, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The taxes come up, but to me, it's an investment, and I got it with equity built in, and it just cost me a couple grand to do that.
Right.
And to me, it's an investment.
Right.
Down the road. I mean, I actually love honeys. Send the buyer, send the he's my bank. Send the bank the $400 check. Right. I love doing that because that means I got $400 more equity in there. Right. I love it. I get it from the rental. Right. Send it to him. Yay! It's $400 more mine. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to find that deal?
I'm not as good at this as you are, obviously. But if you make enough marketing and phone calls, he said yes to everything I asked him. He never said no once. Can you do this? Yep. Can you do that? Yep. Will you wait 3 months for the payment? Yep. And it was, after a while, you can tell a motivated seller. Right. They're in some kind of trouble. They don't like it. But I gave him a great deal. He's happy with it. He's like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, he was very happy.
He was really happy. It's not like you're screwing anybody. He just didn't like the position he was in. And there it is. Now it's
and we're at the end of the show, so this is not a time to bring this up. But the way we close that guy is by the payment, not by the price.
Yeah.
Because he was getting a certain amount of payment, and when we broke down the payment and showed him that his profit was $460 a month, and we were going to give him $400 a month, and he didn't have any responsibilities, he was going to be the bank, he jumped all over it.
Yeah.
For $60 a month, I could still get $400. And I don't have to worry about collecting money or sending letters or fixing a toilet or any of that stuff.
Nope.
He was all over it. To give up $60 a month, he's like, yeah, I'll do that in a heart. He couldn't say yes fast enough. Right?
Yeah, you had to stop me from talking. Pete, stop. He's ready.
Yeah, I actually said that. Pete, let's get right down to business because he's ready to go.
Yeah, I was trying to sell. There's a point like you stop selling, and I missed it. He said stop, and boom, because he was ready to go.
You talk past the close.
Yeah, I actually knew he was closed the week before when I saw him by myself,
right.
But I wanted you to see the deal, put eyes on it, help me with the paperwork, make sure it was right. I just kept talking.
And I looked at him and said, you ready for the numbers? He goes, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah,
he was ready. He
now,
just
when
wanted to
somebody
know
is
the
motivated,
nitty-gritty.
if you do this and you talk to people, you'll hear a difference in the person that's just blah, 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 blah,
right.
and the person like, yeah, I need your help. We got 2 yesterday we ran into,
right.
and they need some help.
Right.
That they're not selling, and we have a way to do it for them.
Just for a punchline, because we're off. This is a whole other show. Maybe we'll do it next week. But just
now we
for
know
a
what to do next week, Bill.
Yeah, just for a punchline. How do you know when somebody's really motivated? And I thought about this last night coming home. How do you know when somebody's really motivated? When they're chasing you and you're not chasing them, then you know they're motivated.
Mm-hmm.
When they're chasing you, that guy that I talked to on the phone last night, since Friday, today is Thursday, he called me 5 times.
Yeah.
And then I got on the phone and he pretended like he wasn't like motivated. Right?
That's right. He was playing a little coy.
Yeah.
Because that's the people with money. They're trying to protect the money. Then it's like, hang on to my money.
But I got a $900,000 house that he's asking $600,000. That's $300,000, right? $300,000.
You've been saying that for a day. You still can't get it out.
That's just one deal.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll bet you any amount of money. If he called me 5 times, we're going to do something creative.
Yep.
Something real creative.
Mm.
How many of those deals do you need to do before you stop working?
Yeah.
And oh yeah, by the way, I'm probably not going to take the title on my name. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We will see.
Yeah.
So the only way that you could do this is to ask. So get out there and start asking people, would you? Would you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So in summary, today's show
was about
ugly houses and pretty houses. Ugly houses are houses that you pay cash for, and you do them within a 12-month period, and it's a job. Pretty houses are more along the lines of terms deals, and that's your retirement and your passive income, and that's where you're going to find most of your financial freedom. And your financial freedom is making more money than what you need. So if your financial plan for each month is $4,000, get enough assets to generate $5,000, and you're financially free. And financially free to me means you're making money without having to do a lot of work. I mean, you could say no work, but I don't think there's anything that you could do no work with.
Nah.
Somebody has to do it.
It wouldn't be real life.
But if you could work a few hours a week,
You'd feel too guilty.
yeah, well, I don't know about that. But if you could work a few hours a week, or work 2 weeks a month, or 1 week a month, and take the rest of the month off, you would be happy. You would be a lot happier. And you can go clamming and fishing and take days off, and like you were talking about, it's a little bit different.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So there you go. If you want to get hooked up, there's 3 things that you can do. You can go to our flippinghouses.club/podcast. All the podcasts that we do, they're all archived and put there. You can also start with us, which is flippinghouses.club/coaching101, which we're going to change that name because we're having trouble with that, because the coaching part of it is how to get started, right? It's 101, like how to get started. And then we have advanced coaching, which is a lot more money than, well, it's not a lot more money, but it's more money than $67 a month. And there, I actually hold your hand, and you and I talk during the week. We have a Monday night call. I have a mentor site. I have a whole bunch of stuff that will help you actually structure the deals, do the paperwork, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So the first one is access to all your information.
Now, the first
All
one
the
is
data.
all the marketing and how to get started and get people calling you and get going.
Yeah.
And know how to do a couple, how to get started. And then
There is a private Facebook group where people can ask questions.
Yeah.
The difference between that and the advanced coaching is he'll check that maybe once every day or so, whereas with the advanced coaching you get a response right away, and
They
you get
have my
a
cell phone
direct.
number.
You have his cell phone number. There's a thing called Voxer that you can use to directly contact him, and he will answer a lot faster. Whereas with the Coaching 101, every day or so he'll check the Facebook page.
And that's where Pete is, and Emma are, and Jesse, and there's other people there, other members are there. So it's Coaching 101 because it's 101 because it gets you started in the business.
Just like college.
Yeah, the advanced coach, that's right. It's the difference between high school and college. High school, you're just getting going. College, you're going to get the job and land the money. Okay? So there you go. And if you have any questions for us, you can, for me, it's info@flippinghouses.club. Or you can go to flippinghouses.club and hit the contact button. All the support tickets go to me, and I'm going to continue to do that until it's too much, where some weeks it is. But just let me know what you need, and I'm here. Okay, Pete, over and out. We're going to go into the one of the things we do is we go into the Coaching 101 group. It's called the Post Podcast, and we actually go there and answer questions for a half an hour or 45 minutes. So if you are in that group, hop over to Flipping Houses Coaching 101 group, and we go over there for a half an hour right now, and we call it the Post Podcast Show, and that's where we answer questions and help anybody that needs any help. Okay, over and out. See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.